Martin Popoff here, back again for another episode of the Contrarians. This is actually one of our more freewheeling episode things. This is the Contrarians Presents, where we're allowed to be contrarian about something, like I say, a little more of an offshoot idea. So what we're going to do here is have a little fun with Hipgnosis. The way this is contrarian is because I love Hipgnosis to death. Everybody loves Hipgnosis. They've done some of the most iconic, amazing album covers of all time. I interviewed Aubrey Poe for my Led Zeppelin book, and he was awesome and had some great Led Zeppelin stories and whatnot. I think I might have talked to him about Technical Ecstasy as well. But no, what we're going to do here is be a little contrarian and say, hey, you know, put our hand up and say they have done some album covers that aren't so great as well. So I'm going to display some of those. These are a bunch of things from my own collection. Obviously, they've done many album covers over the years. They started in 1968. And you know, there are other ones we could put up, and obviously album covers, you know, there are things people might like or not like about it. So it's a little bit of a playful thing because it is a little more objective rather than hang on, subjective, objective. Now I'm forgetting which one is which. Anyways, so this also I want to acknowledge that this was a episode idea by a viewer named Scott Martin. So thank you for that, Scott. So yeah, Hipgnosis started in 68. Essentially what they did was they did the second Pink Floyd album, A Saucer Full of Secrets, and then they were off to the races. Storm Thorgerson, who we sadly lost a few years ago, Aubrey Powell, who is still with us. Later on in 74, they brought on Peter Christopherson as a partner, but they made lots and lots of album covers over the years with a number of different iconic things that they did with them. One of the famous things that I saw on the wiki, I don't know how well this sort of stood up over the years, but they had no set fee, and it said pay what it's worth, or you know, pay what you think it's worth to you, sort of thing. And you know, as it says there, it's only backfired a couple times for them. So I thought that was pretty funny. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 20 album covers here in reverse order. So again, we're being a little contrary about Hipgnosis by saying they can do some stuff that wasn't so hot, because really all you know we normally ever talk about is how awesome they are. So here we go. Let's do this. So let's start with Steve Harley and the Cockney Rebel, Face to Face, a live recording. There you go. So this is essentially you know, Hipgnosis doing some of the things they do with some of the custom interesting text and whatnot. But I just thought this was kind of like a busy, strange photo, little homoerotic almost in a way as well with this whole thing. Steve Harley, you know, I've heard over the years, I've never interviewed him, but you know, I've heard like the career kind of suffered a bit. Maybe he was a bit difficult to deal with, but good stuff. I've got a lot of Steve Harley albums. So there's your number one. Number two, here's a funny one. So we're starting at the you know, least bad and building our way up, like I say, playfully, right? Sammy Hagar musical chairs. I always thought that I never liked this picture of Sammy with the short hair because he never kind of really did that. And this is kind of, it's not really in character for Sammy for this album or for the band. They were an awesome band live, but they were more of a, you know, a raw rockin' band live than they were on record. So it's not a particularly arty record. You know, and again, the iconic text up top. So this is just a lot of things Hipgnosis normally does. It's not a terrible album cover, but it's like throwing every cliche in the book at it. And I've never been crazy about that picture of Sammy, and I don't think it matches the message of the band all that well. All right. Next is, you know, UFO. Obviously, Hipgnosis did a ton of amazing album covers for UFO, but this one is just them, the guys hanging out in front of a gas station. This is my fully signed copy of No Place to Run. Anybody figure out the similarity of this with Rainbow Rising, say, for example? Well, it's sadly that 3 out of the 5 guys in the band are deceased now. So there's only 2 left standing from this lineup of UFO. There's only 2 left standing from the Rainbow lineup from Rising. So yeah, this is a Hipgnosis, and obviously nothing like what Hipgnosis normally does. Next up, we have 10cc Sheet Music. This is another band that Hipgnosis did a bunch of amazing covers for. But this one is a little silly, a little dumb. You know, it's got the guy holding, you know, pulling the sheet here. It's got the iconic sort of they went through a phase with these sorts of colors on their album covers. I just don't think it's super effective. Obviously, it's down near the bottom of our list, so it's not that terrible a one. Next, we have Wishbone Ash, No Smoke Without Fire, and this kind of goes into their collage phase later on, where they're just kind of a mess of whatever. The colors aren't great. We're going to see a few more of those in this lineup, but anyways, there's a later Wishbone Ash. They did some other Wishbone Ash as well, and some of them are actually pretty cool. Paul McCartney Tug of War. Now, Hipgnosis actually did a bunch of wings too, and I think we've got some coming up. But I didn't think this was a particularly great one, and it's not very Hipgnosis like. This is late in the run. This is up into the 80s. So there you go. Next, we've got Led Zeppelin. Song remains the same. Again, you know, you think Houses of the Holy. There's a lot of amazing stuff they did for Led Zeppelin as well, but this is one that I never really liked very much. I didn't like the idea of the small pastel-y looking pictures. There's the back. You know, it's a little Dark Side of the Moon. You know, when you opened it up and stuff, it had some more Hipgnosis kind of things to it. But yeah, and it's a little messy in the titling. I suppose that's not Hipgnosis's fault, but I didn't think that was a particularly good one for a terrible live album. Next, we have Wishbone Ash again with Front Page News. So here we've just got, you know, the guys kind of stripped in roughly the way Hipgnosis would do these, you know, these photo montages. Front Page News doesn't really have anything to do with news or whatever. So yeah, not a great one there. Next, we have 10cc with the original soundtrack. Silly title, but this is another one of the more drab ones that we see with 10cc. It's just kind of like a pencil drawing. Mind you, it's pretty cool when you open her up. You got them on the inside here as well. But yeah, one of the more drab ones, and again, not very Hipgnosis-like. And we've got Renaissance. They've done a few for Renaissance as well. This one is just a grainy photo of the band. There they are on the back. I hope I'm not going to make any errors here, and none of these are non-Hipgnosis, but I didn't actually go check each one individually in the credits on the back, but I'm pretty sure about them. Next, we have another one of these collage ones. No one ever liked the Wild Willing and the Innocent one, although this is one of the great UFO albums. But essentially, there's another version where it's a little more, I think, sexually explicit in the middle. But this one is the toned down one. But again, it kind of just reminds me of sort of let me get this better here. Kind of the lazy Hipgnosis kind of way of doing things, where you thought, whatever. The back wasn't much better as well. So that, interestingly, is the one right after No Place to Run. So they kind of had a couple there, not great in a row. Then we get to the Wings with London Town. Again, not much to this one, just 3 of the band. You know, I've never liked this. I've seen a few of these before where they knock down the number of personnel in a band, and I think it compromises your feeling that it's a true band effort. So I don't like when they do that. You know, one of the notorious ones for this is Thin Lizzy Bad Reputation, where you literally got 3 of the 4 guys that are definitely part of the band not in the picture. But here you go. So it just feels like, hey, it's a little less of a band in this situation. Not crazy about that. Okay, so next we move to AC/DC, the international version of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. No one really ever liked this one very much at all. It's a little interesting, but it certainly is not very AC/DC because it's a little bit too artsy for AC/DC. Strange text in both cases. You know, when I look at this cover, I actually think of kind of a punk band. This looks like a punk album cover. With both the ways those texts are done, and even the picture with the Blank Generation kind of feel to it or whatever. There's the back. And then, of course, this was the reissue when AC/DC got big that came out and confused a lot of people right after Back in Black. But yeah, not very AC/DC-like. And again, kind of like a lazy Hipgnosis sort of feel to that. Here's Wings again with At the Speed of Sound. Nothing very speedy, nothing very soundy about this. It's very staid. It's absolutely a pretty dull album cover, of course, as well. There's your back, a little better, but there you go. Speed of sound. Next, we've got Stack Ridge. This is kind of, a little bit different for them. Again, it shows their nice attention to detail when it comes to text, type styles, fonts. And then just kind of a strange pastel-y bunch of seagulls flying around. The back, no improvement, nothing else extra there. Next, we've got Pretty Things with Crosstalk. This was, I think, 1980, I believe. Yeah, 1980. Hipgnosis did some earlier Pretty Things ones and some actually pretty cool ones. But this one is obviously just a little bit. And then I never liked when the back cover is nothing much more added to it. The guys are backwards on the back, haha, instead of frontwards, but otherwise it just really doesn't offer anything extra. So I never liked when you did album cover like that as well. Here's an odd one. Alan Parsons Project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe. Hipgnosis did a lot of great album covers for Alan Parsons, some of the absolute classics of all time, actually. Alan Parsons also, remember, part of Dark Side of the Moon. But this one there's just zero Poe-ish about this. The colors are all wrong for something on Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know, it's just very, very dull as well. Moving to our very top ones. These are ones that, not all of, well, okay, two of the last three now. We're up to number 3. Two of our last 3 are ones that, reflected in the glass so you can get a hint of what we're talking about there. 2 of our last 3 are ones that have elicited strong negative responses in our world, in our hard rock, heavy metal world. And this is one of them, High and Dry, which always felt like almost like a cheap demo parody of a Hipgnosis album cover, with this dude with all the different kind of, I don't know who is the dude, and then this guy diving into an empty pool, grainy photo. Hipgnosis like that grainy photo idea. I thought these band shots were kind of cool with that weird kind of pale, stoned look to everybody. And then you've got the guy repeated there. It kind of looks a bit like Rob Halford, I always thought. But this just seemed ill-advised, bad Hipgnosis. They're not a Hipgnosis kind of band, I don't think. Just not a great album cover for an absolute drop-dead classic of an album. And totally along the same lines, hard to believe this is Hipgnosis, but Rainbow Straight Between the Eyes, everybody always thought this was a ridiculous cover. Reminds you a little bit of the first Anthrax album in a way, almost. Just the weird kind of, woody flesh tone feel to the whole thing. And then that big stark, bolded Helvetica text for Rainbow and Straight Between the Eyes, which, again, I guess we've been talking a lot about Hipgnosis really does a nice job with text. This is them doing a terrible job with text. But yeah, everybody always kind of ridiculed this album cover. And it's odd that it's a Hipgnosis. A little cooler on the back, little cooler idea there. And finally, who can forget one of Hipgnosis's early ones that always gets a negative reaction, Toe Fat. There you go, Toe Fat. This is one of their early ones that it was on Rare Earth. I had to check on the back. I couldn't find any. Well, actually, I got an art direction credit here for Curtis McNair. So I went on Discogs and found, more stuff, like more of the internal pages and more of the credits. And it is indeed a Hipgnosis. But you can see them, learning their craft there and doing something fairly interesting, at least. But it's also very, very off-putting and terrible name for a band, Toe Fat, and then like almost making it worse with these 2 towhead guys and then a lamb there. So yeah, everybody's always kind of had it in for this album cover and the name of the band. And that's it. So there you go. That's our Contrarians Presents. Being contrarian, I suppose. We'll have to talk to Marco and come up with a title for this, but being contrarian about Hipgnosis, always doing a great job. And again, thanks to Scott Martin for coming up with this. But yeah, Hipgnosis have done many album covers, and obviously many of them are amazing, but I could have easily, come up with another 20 that weren't so great, but I thought this showed a nice range as well. So there you go. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We've obviously got the Patreon situation as well, so we'd love it to see some more Patreon people over there. But we just get an absolute blast reading the comments in that, and it's been really fun doing the show. So we shall see you next time.
That's it, dude.